right? I think a lot of times in life, we look at our lives and we don't like what we have. We don't like what God's given us. We don't like the season we're in. And a lot of times we're like Gideon and we're going, God, this is on you. We cried out to you and you didn't show up. You allowed this thing to happen to me. You allowed this trial, this pain, this struggle. And we look at God and say, God, why did you allow this to happen to me? And then God tells us, you have not listened to me. See, it's one thing to ask God to help. It's another thing to listen to what he says. And you have to ask yourself, am I just crying out to God to rescue me, or am I listening to the ways in which he's asking me to invite him in? Am I hearing the potential of what he's calling me to? It's not enough to just cry out if you don't have the ears to hear what he's saying. And then, verse 11, it says, the angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah, that belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites. And when the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. And then these next 4 verses are really what I want us to focus on. In verse 13, it says, pardon me, my Lord. Gideon replied, but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian. The Lord turned to him and said, go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you? Pardon me, my Lord. Gideon replied, but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I'm the least in my family. And then the Lord answered, I will be with you. I love this moment in the life of Gideon. There is so much gold and so much weight to the tension that we find in the conversation that Gideon has with God, where he's looking at all the evidence of the absence of God. He's looking at all of the troubles and all the struggles and all the heartache, and he's trying to find the fingerprints of God, and he can't seem to find it because he only sees it in the past. He says, I hear all these stories about how you rescued my ancestors and all these stories how you brought us out of Egypt, but what's the good of a story of freedom in the past if you don't feel it in the present? What good is it to look back at what God did if you can't see what God's doing now? But I think this is the issue that so many of us have when we interact with God, is that we keep looking for him in our past. But you're never going to find Jesus in your past. You're only going to find a remnant of him. See, you may have a moment with God in your past. You may have a story of redemption from God in your past, but that is only a reminder of what God did. It's not the reality of his presence right now. And what he wants from all of us is to let the past ignite us forward so that we can meet him in our present and we could find him in our future. But you have to have the courage to get out of the cave. Because I know this room is filled with people like me. Cowards. That's right, I called you a coward. I called me one too, don't worry. We just got to admit it. Hi, my name is Joe, I'm a coward. Because the moment you declare it, it takes the power from it. And before Gideon has this transcendent moment that's waiting for him in the future, he has to deal with the reality that he had become a cave dweller. That all of Israel, all of God's people, all the chosen ones had chose safety and security, had chose to exist rather than to live. And I wonder how many of us find ourselves in the same place, simply asking God to protect us when he's trying to unleash us.